Hi, so here we are in the field. This is our first example of collecting, and collecting can be as simple or as complicated as you like it to be. What one needs is really just a comfort level with what they're looking for and what they're pursuing and what they have at hand. And what we typically do is have collecting, which is what I'm going to show you here, is a net, something to catch the insects in, something to put the insects in when you've caught them. And we usually put them on ice. So we have the container of ice, we have some Ziploc bags from the store. We typically use a pan to put the insects in the field once we've caught them. Other kinds of things that we use to catch these insects might be as simple as a kitchen strainer or a finer mesh sieve. It could be an aquarium net that you get at the local store. If you don't have a photographic pan, which is what we prefer, you can simply take the bottom of a milk carton, something just to contain the insects for the time being. With collecting is something that one can be quite happy and exuberant about doing, but you just want to be careful in certain places. If you're in a fast-flowing stream with lots of flow, you want to be careful not to slip on some slippery rocks and fall in. Watch out for snakes, watch out for ticks. And in certain places where the adults are flying around, you may want to well take cover from them with some DEET or some protection physical barrier. Today, it's a beautiful day. We just want to show you how to collect some stuff here in Boise, Idaho, where we're filming. And this is a city park, and it's going to be a small stream that's coming down from some of these dry hills through the park, and we're going to catch it at the entry point of a pond. So again, it's rather something one just becomes comfortable with in terms of their sampling here, but you can see it's not necessarily complicated. Okay, let's have a look. So here we are. We've arrived at our site. I haven't been at this site for about a month now, and as one gets accustomed to their environment, their situation, their microhabitats and systems available to them, one always has to be flexible. And today, for example, this is the middle of July, very hot weather that we're having here in Boise. This little creek, which in the wintertime might have a considerable, much more flow, is fairly low today. So I'm going to use this as an example of how one has to be adept at just adjusting to their situation, and it's always a little bit unique. And these systems are resilient. The insects are resilient. The fungi are resilient, and they'll be in the system if you're willing to find them. So what we have here then, after a couple-minute walk from the car, is a good habitat, good site with some variation. And I'm going to show you here some of the flexibility that one has to have as a sampler, but one can still at the same time find what they're looking for. So what we have though is a very little flow today, but it's a system we'll try and see what we can find here. It's a very fine gravel bottom, and with some deciduous vegetation that is available for the hosts to consume. So let's just have a look here and see what we can find. What we'll find in streams, creeks, small systems like this are larval aquatic insects. The typical kinds of insects one would find here in a stream like this, maybe mayflies would be the most predominant, stoneflies, these are Ephemeroptera and Plecoptera. Beetles, again lower insects, larval forms of insects typically live in aquatic systems like this and emerge as adults. In bigger rivers you may find emergences of mayflies, and same from lakes. So what we're doing now is just trying to stir up some of the vegetation, the stream bed a little bit with this aquatic net to see if we can capture any of the detached insects from the creek. One might want to do this in several locations, near the periphery of the stream, in parts that are more sediment rather than gravel. You may want to look through leaf packs. And just a quick look to see what you'll be finding, or just to get a glimpse at what you might have here before you do some more extensive sampling. And again, you may want to check slightly different parts of the stream. Again, there's very little flow here today, but it's just an example of some of the challenges of summer collecting in certain systems that are not quite so, or that are more temporal. But just have a quick dash, have a look around in the different kinds of debris that you'll be finding in these streams. There are lots of times when you may not want to use a net at all. You may just want to simply pick up the vegetation and have a look directly with picking up the material, the insects from the substrates. Once you have your sample, it can be placed in a Ziploc bag with some of the native vegetation, some of the substrate, and we will have a closer look at this in the lab. If there were greater numbers of insects in this sample, I would probably take some of it directly from the pan and put it in a smaller jar and separate it in a better form. But this bag will be labeled with a collecting code and placed in the cooler, and we'll take it back to the lab and have a look there.